Sorry, I'm so stupid. I can't read a clock.
Oh, I was like, oh God, did I get the time difference wrong? Because we had daylight savings last weekend, so who knows?
Oh, I've been messing up every call for the past 7 days. It's pretty exciting. So I
That
have this.
that has to be super difficult too to be a massive time change away.
Well, it happens every year and I still mess up. So that's,
Do they don't do the time change there?
we have it on March 29th. So it's always like three
Ugh,
weeks difference, but then I forget
yeah.
literally for consecutive years. So anyway,
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I really appreciate it.
sure, thanks
Um,
for
yeah, your book is incredible. I mentioned I've self-published two cookbooks and I teach like food bloggers and stuff how to self-publish books. And I picked up I can't believe this is self-published. Just it's so huge and beautiful and the amount of people that must have been a part of this to make it happen, like it's incredible.
it was a team effort. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I was thinking this morning, I was like flipping through it again. And I think I flipped through it like I'm touching it right now as I've talked to you, 4 or 5 times. And every single time I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally missed this. So it's just amazing. And it makes me, I've been to Rome twice, but now I'm excited to go again soon.
Come back.
And do one of your tours because I did a food tour the second time I was there. But it wasn't yours, and now I need to do yours. So
We'll do it for
yeah. And then just wanted to make sure you're okay with me recording our conversation. Okay, cool. Um, okay, well, I've got a bunch of questions for you. We'll see how much we get to. But and then do you have 30 minute what time frame should I stick to for you? Okay, cool. Yeah, I've traditionally published now two books, so I'm kind of writing about both sides of the spectrum, and why each has its own benefit. I'm really trying to dispel the idea that self-publishing is like a fallback or a worst case scenario situation. It can be definitely the best case scenario a lot of the time. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that because you traditionally publish first and then self-publish. And I feel like a lot of times that order goes the other way around. So, okay, so I'm curious, you've written or contributed to many, many, many cookbooks. What was the moment when you felt like the traditional model wasn't working for you anymore, or kind of what led to that?
it's happened a couple times. Like I used to write guidebooks before I started writing cookbooks, and I entered a bunch of deals that were not financially beneficial to me at all in exchange for cover credit, which wasn't given. Um, Before I had an agent, before I like knew anything about how things worked. But I think it was probably after Food at the Italian South came out. So like my first solo title, and I spent like $30,000 more to produce and promote it than I got to make it, and my advance was $87,000.
Yeah.
But I didn't know immediately because I never do my taxes on time. So it was like in 2020, I have a tour company. I was totally unemployed and I did my taxes for like 2018, 2019. I'm like, oh shit, like my tour company was underwriting my writing
Yeah.
career. And I think you can only do, like someone who's actually reflecting on finances can only do so many like passion projects or like this is building my profile before they're like, okay, I don't own a house. Like this is not this is not working for me. And I'm hustling and making a lot of money for a publisher, but not actually earning anything and in fact in the red. Um, and so I didn't know anything about the process after the pages, like the layouts are approved.
Mhm.
So like you do that and then the book like gets sent to you in its final form like 6 months later. But I was like, I'm in Italy. There's a lot of printing here. I could probably figure out how that part works. And then, I'm not necessarily like a planner. Like I'll figure out printing and distribution. I'm like, I'll figure out printing, then I'll think about distribution.
Yeah. I totally get it. In fact, one of my questions for you was so both of my self-published cookbooks I did print on demand because the printing and fulfillment felt incredibly overwhelming to me. But for my next self-published book, I really want to work with a printer. And I was curious to hear more about your thoughts going through that. How did you find them? How closely did you work with them? How much, I guess, and then another thing I'm curious about is I think that the books where you are able to go with a printer do look much better than a print on demand book. But how many decisions were you able to make? Like how much was this is the only option, or here's a few options for you? Just curious about that.
I mean, so I did it's not that I didn't think at all about the revenue that the book could generate. And so I knew based on data, like based on my author portals and stuff, that I would be able to sell a good number of books.
Mhm.
So I knew, because I didn't know anything about the printing process, I knew I didn't have to price shop necessarily.
Mhm.
And I chose to print with my now former mother-in-law, who prints like food packaging, those like fancy panettone boxes and
Yes.
like catalogs and stuff. She doesn't print books, and so she had to like cobble together a team of people that she knew, and it cost me more to print with her, but she gave me complete access
Cool.
and absolutely like anything I wanted to like gram or any questions I had. There were like several people that were very available to me. So I paid probably 30% more than I would have had I price shopped and gone with the printer that did the Rome book. But I felt as though for this first experiment, it was worth investing in a more hands-on process
Mhm.
so that I could learn all the vocabulary and all the steps. Um, and so, yeah, like I was, working with her to like figure out how to do like the debossing and all the features that I wanted. And then uh subsequent like right after Food of the Italian Islands came out, it was successful from the jump. So I'm like, I'm gonna Food of the Italian Islands was my first independently published book. I was like, I'm gonna help other people do this. So now I'm gonna go meet other printers. I went to Shenzhen. I like visited printers all over northern Italy, which is most of them are, and figured out now that I know stuff. Now I know how to um, advocate for myself in like a more corporate environment. But that was like the cool thing about the first book. I knew that I could, through events and pre-orders through my website, where I'd had also e-commerce for other stuff, sell enough to justify a higher printing price.
I love that. And I feel like too, you mentioned earlier that working with a publisher, you are spending so much of your own money and time to generate revenue for somebody else, and that isn't a good feeling. And in this case, maybe you're making decisions where you aren't going to make as much money, but at least it's for yourself and for your own project, and you have control over those decisions. And I know for me, that's something that's just like felt better. Do you, is that something you felt as well?
Yeah. I mean, like now with very complex spreadsheets and things, I can calculate potential revenue much more accurately. But I knew like I sold 35,000 copies of Food of the Italian South.
Wow.
So I was like, I can probably sell in like 3 years, I could probably sell 15,000 copies of Food of the Italian Islands.
Yeah.
Because most
That's
of the
amazing.
5,000 were sold through direct to consumer, like events, markets, all that stuff. So yeah, like you learn to bet on yourself,
Mhm.
but with a data based like foundation, right?
Approach to it. Yeah.
And yeah, I think like there's no question that I make more money doing it this way, because even if I spend well over 100 grand to produce the book, that means I only have to sell 5,000 to cover my production costs.
Totally.
And then I'm taking home 85% of cover direct to consumer through my website, 60% through Amazon, 50% through events. Like that's way better than the $2.40
Hmm.
I out with every sale of Food of the Italian Islands. Sorry, Food of the Italian South,
Mhm.
you know.
I feel like that's almost a better way to look at it, rather for a self-publishing author, instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to be making $7 per book or whatever. Thinking, okay, how much do I need to earn to cover my costs and then go from there? Then it's like, limitless. And I think it's really interesting that you mentioned your success selling books at events and things like that, because I don't feel like that's usually the case in today's world. But do you think that's because you've established you've got your tours and you've established yourself as somebody who does all of these events already?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing events before I, had cookbooks.
Hmm.
And friends who have restaurants in like the US or wherever would invite me to do like a night dedicated to Rome. And so there was always a good
Cool.
turnout. And when my first cookbook, Tasting Rome, came out, it was very clear from the jump that the like half dozen people assigned to the PR and marketing of the book weren't doing jack shit except turning up for free meals. Still so like indignant about this. But they like wouldn't even show up with like the press books. And I'm like, you're drunk. Like, why are you not working? So yeah, I knew that like the events were a way to guarantee a certain number of sales, right? Because a venue is going to hustle to fill seats.
Hmm.
They're not paying me to be there, they're just buying the books,
Yeah.
right? And so it's mutually beneficial. And based on like the pre-book events, based on Tasting Rome and then Food of the Italian South, like more and more interest in Italian cuisine and culture and these types of things would result in like very solid event sales. And then I'm very strict about the terms. Like if we're doing a dinner, everyone gets a book. Couples get 2 books.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that. And I feel like too, one thing I noticed with my last cookbook, all of the events I did had the secondary benefit of people sharing so much online about the event, and then word spread and people learned about the book. And so it wasn't just the event itself that did well for me, it had a far more reaching impact.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mhm. Let me see here. I kind of like went off in a way I wasn't even planning to. Um, Okay, so one thing I love about Rome is it is way more than just a cookbook. It's a guidebook. It has extensive history about food in Rome. Um, do you think that you would have been able to write a book like this if you had worked with a traditional publisher?
Hell to the no. No, they'd be like, wrap it up, girl. You got
Yeah.
256 pages to make this happen. I'm not sure that I could justify writing another Rome book because Tasting Rome still sells really, really well.
Mhm.
And so, in spite of the fact that it's quite outdated, actually, I mean, Rome's food culture is not like a fast-paced game, but like things have changed and a lot of information is now out of date. Like, I'm not sure that I, I'm not sure that I could justify like another Rome cookbook from a big publisher.
Yeah.
But certainly I couldn't pull off 60 or 70 pages of history. No way.
Which is so funny to me because I feel like I read again and again that people are looking for something beyond the typical cookbook. Like they want narrative, they want it to be more than just a cookbook, and publishers don't seem to support this. So I'm not really sure what the disconnect is.
So the formula they have works. Like publishers are risk averse. They make very good margin on books even when the advances are big. So
Yeah.
I'm not they don't try something different.
Yeah. Let's see. So, given that this is a guidebook, history book, and cookbook, how do you, like in your perfect world, how do you envision someone using this book?
Oh, I mean, I write for a number of different audiences. I
Mhm.
write for the person that's going to cook through this book, like from page one of the recipes to the end. I write this for professional pizza makers who want to know like the Rome stuff, which still remains a little off the radar. I write it for armchair travelers. I write it for people planning their trips. I write it for people who are just like Romophiles. So there's no single audience that I have in mind, but I'm trying to cast a wide net of readership while keeping it interesting, hopefully for like the majority of those people. And many people, I see so many people on tour, so many people tell me like I've never cooked anything from you. But I read the head notes and I love the history and like, I send screenshots to my like friends when they're traveling to Italy of like the pizzerias or whatever. So, um I I also don't cook from cookbooks. So maybe that also informs how much other information I put into things,
Yeah.
which is, somewhat ironic, I would say.
Well, and that's part of the thing I loved about it. Like this morning when I was reading through it, I saw a spread that like hadn't caught my eye before, where you had the like on the left page, it's the recipe for grilled pork liver, and then on the right side, it's the history of the first McDonald's in Rome.
Yeah, buddy. That's what's up.
And I love that like mix of it makes it feel like I think cookbook lovers we like to sit down with a cookbook and like read it from cover to cover. And the way you've done it where there is like the more history dense section in the beginning, but the history sprinkled throughout makes it very good reading. And I
Yeah.
love that. Let's see. So, marketing, my professional background is in marketing. It's one of my favorite parts of the process. I always talk about, I feel like creating the book is as much work as marketing the book. It should be, at least if it maybe marketing the book is even more work. Um, how can you compare marketing your books with a publisher and without a publisher?
I mean, I never know if this falls into marketing or publicity. I think the difference is my timeline's faster. So, like magazines, which barely exist anymore, don't get advance copies.
Hmm.
When it comes to marketing, the publishers always like overpromise that they're going to do like partnerships with this and like packages and blah blah blah, and that never happened. So they did nothing, and then I'm too busy and I do nothing. So it's the same.
Yeah,
If I had more time, I do collaborate with the publicist and for the first few months that the book is out. Um, but I would say like in terms of marketing the book, I do the same number of like social media posts, same number of newsletter releases about the book as I normally would with a traditional publisher. So it's very, very similar.
yeah, largely unchanged. And then on the note of people you're working with, the graphic design of your books is gorgeous. How do you have like a graphic design partner that you really trust, or how closely do you work with them? What is that relationship like?
Yeah, Ian Dingman designed my last solo title for Clarkson Potter, Food of the Italian South. And then I brought him on to design Food of the Italian Islands and Rome. The,
Amazing.
I mean, the partnership is like, I don't know, he's like, he gets it. So I just build a Pinterest board and I send it to him. And then he riffs and I tell him what works and what doesn't. For this particular book, um, it's fucking mental because he's never been to Italy before, but he's pulled off so many beautiful Italy books. So I brought him. I was like, "This is in the budget. Like, you're gonna come over," because he like it wasn't quite perfect. Like the Rome aesthetic was a little bit too like on the nose.
Okay.
I'm like, the first designs like kind of felt too much like other like romanity, but the book's not about like the postcard parts of Rome. So I wanted to get out of that, and so yeah, like the partnership was great because I don't necessarily want the book to look exactly like Rome, but I wanted to have the kinetic feel of the city.
Hmm.
Did that through like the the layout and the colors and like all the textures and like the photo edges and stuff. So I mean I don't know about art or anything like that, but I like I coaxed him like just enough for him to like get everything the the way I never could have imagined, like so perfect.
Yeah.
and uh and the collaboration is only aided by the photography of Ed Anderson,
Incredible.
and his portraiture is insane. And like we shot everything except for the process shots for like some pasta and dough and stuff, which had to be in my kitchen because you can't do that on the street obviously.
Yeah.
Everything else was inside too and really captures like the moment.
That is I was noticing like even like the process shots that you have in that are clearly in restaurant kitchens, that's incredible.
Yeah, he works. Oops, are you there? My
Yeah.
bad. Battery's like recharge your phone. Um, yeah, he works so fast and like gets the like perfect movement. He's so good. So, we delivered the photos before Ian worked on design. And so that also helped with like grasping the sort of sensibility of Roman spaces and the energy of the city.
Mhm. Yeah, the photography is true. And I love the mix. Did he photograph the entire cookbook?
They're like three small photos that suck, and those are mine. The rest of the photos are Ed's. There were like a
Wow.
couple. He came once in January and once in June. So we were able to shoot almost every seasonal thing,
Yeah,
but like there
that's
were
amazing.
a few danglers. So I was like, we'll make the photos small.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Well, because he's able to shoot both food and people and scenes so well, which I feel like that takes a pretty incredible photographer to achieve that.
He's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, kudos to him because the photos are one of my favorite parts of the book. They're incredible. Um, let's see. So I also wanted to talk to you about Parla Publishing, and you're helping people self-publish books, which is incredible. I'd love for you to just kind of tell me more about that. What if there's specific authors you found your types of authors you found yourself working with more, like be them chefs or whatever it might be. I'd love for you to just kind of talk more about that.
Yeah, so I think like Parla Publishing is maybe a misleading name because I'm not giving people advances and it's not that type of traditional model. People hire me on a project fee and all the projects are bespoke. So sometimes I'm just shepherding an existing manuscript through the editing, design, and printing process. Other times it's more of like a full service, like I'll help you hire all the freelancers to make the book and then
Cool.
do management like marketing consulting and all of that. It's been I think there've been 5 books so far and they've all had different needs. Like all the authors have had different needs. Most of them are cookbooks. One is a culture book or more like it's called McAtlas. It's Gary He's um like cultural anthropology of McDonald's in the world.
Cool.
Photo driven, like extremely beautiful, very deeply researched, very interesting. And the others are cookbooks. Um, yeah, and it's been interesting. Like I've never made a deadline in my life, and I feel like the karma has caught up with me because none of my authors ever made a deadline, and it really was challenging to like wrangle a bunch of people whose production calendars all ended up being parallel in spite of my best efforts to
Oh
stagger.
God.
So, in the future, like the first year and a half, 2 years of Parla Publishing was like 5 or 6 books, including my own, or 6 or 7 books, including my own, lots of different kind of subjects. But moving forward, I'm going to be working with like a smaller number of
Mhm.
authors and really focusing on my own titles
Yeah.
because I think there's so many ways to deliver like Italy food and culture information, like little pocket-sized guidebooks that are portable,
Mhm.
not like a 3-pound cookbook with advice in the back that no one's going to actually use that way. And I found that like working with people who are already my friends
Mhm.
is so much fun, and so I'm going to keep doing more of those projects where it's like there's a little bit more, I don't know what, like immediacy, and like you don't have to,
Mhm.
you can just be direct in a way
Yeah.
that's like I'm not good at I'm not
The
good at
professionalism can die a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like keep this, I've also learned a lot about my ability to communicate in this process. So um yeah, work with friends, work with people who I think have interesting ideas, and maybe not do 6 books a year, which is honestly just a lot for someone who has another full-time job.
Yeah, that's super overwhelming. Which, like, that's actually perfect. 'Cause one of the things I would like, you do a lot. You and just so much like cookbooks, you do the tours, you contribute to other publications, obviously Parla Publishing. So part of my, I guess this is like a two-pronged question. One, the typical, how do you manage it all? And then two, what do you find yourself being drawn to the most right now? I think for me, like I have a similar like multi-pronged situation and my passion will kind of oscillate between things. But what at the moment is like really catching your attention?
Um, I mean, we're getting into the beginning of tour season. Tours have always been my favorite thing to do.
Mm.
Like full stop, like forever. Writing doesn't make me feel good about myself. I don't think I'm very good at it. So, um, I like working with people in publishing and stuff like that, but like my like where I find joy is doing tours and developing new itineraries and stuff. So, nevertheless, like my time is pretty much split like I would say like 70-30 between like my tour company and Parla Publishing and probably will be in the coming year. Um, and possibly if I spent a bit more time developing book projects, that would be like, more lucrative and great marketing for my business. But I don't know. I'm bad at business. So I'm like, what makes me like actually super happy all the time? And it's not being in front of a computer. It's like being in the city with people and doing that. So, if I was a little bit more strategic, I probably would divide my time differently, um, and posit Parla Publishing as a marketing branch of my tour company. But I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
but
me.
then it wouldn't be as fun. And then, you might burn out on it. And there's that whole thing.
Not exactly like the way that feels,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I relate to that very much. Let's see. So now that you have self-published a couple of times, is there anything you're taking into we kind of touched on that already, but anything more specific about the process that you're taking into your next self-publishing project that you want to do differently next time? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the part that's been most challenging, honestly, is the one that I'm least passionate about, and that is nailing the Amazon aspect of things.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have very good independent book publishing partners. Sorry, independent book selling partners. Distribution is always kind of the most stressful and difficult to crack because
Mhm.
it is all about numbers. Like I have a finite amount of time. How much time do I want to spend like chipping away at at my, list of my wish list of small independent bookshops?
Yeah.
Not It's not going to really generate a lot of revenue, whereas Amazon is. And
Mhm.
every variable within the Amazon selling platform is a moving target and things change all the time. And so I think I know for this, for Rome still and for future projects, I'm really going to have to spend some time with the Amazon consultants that have helped me so far and really be strategic about inventory and all sorts of stuff like that because it's so mind-numbingly boring and dumb to me, but it's extremely necessary from a revenue perspective. Like I take home a very good margin with Amazon, and while I
Mhm.
prioritize direct to consumer sales and events, I gotta, like we can't fight Bezos. Like
It's a necessary evil.
it's a necessary evil. Like some people just don't, also I'm not like the best at communicating everything, and I don't I don't fund Amazon ads, or
Mhm.
rather, I don't fund Meta ads. So a lot of people find my book on Amazon that wouldn't find my website.
Mhm.
So, anyway, Bezos is trash, but it's a necessary element. I hesitate to say necessary evil. Like it is what it is,
Yeah.
and I need to be better informed also about like the algorithm and how all of the back end stuff works.
It sucks because for me, probably the two big benefits of having a publisher are the distribution. It's that's out of my and then dealing with stuff like Amazon. Like I just had a call where they're like, "We're working on your A plus page for my next book and stuff," and it's like. Thank God it's not me. But when I self-publish again, it will be me. So
Oh,
I
it's not cool.
and then I guess to kind of wrap things up, I still on the topic of dispelling the idea that self-publishing is this lesser way to create a book. Uh, can you can you talk about how you've spoken about the fact that you've self-published and I think people can have like a reaction when they hear that a book is self-published. How do you overcome that? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there still certainly is like a stigma around self-publishing as though
Mhm.
like your idea is somehow invalid or your project or knowledge is not on par with these legacy publishers. The way that I dispel that is I hand the book to them. I really I really love like Italy didn't invent printing, of course, but I love how even like small publisher, like printers, I should say, small printers, gigantic printers are really, really into like the haptic experience of the book and how everything feels.
Mhm.
Source paper, interestingly. Um, and so, yeah, while the haters will like always ridicule you, I just think like the work speaks for itself in terms of like how it looks and feels. Like the first impact is it's clearly a quality product and the initial investment is considerable. Like it costs well over 100,000 to do all the things and print the book. And I always budget in store like logistics and storage for a year for the whole inventory. So it's not cheap, but with like a beautiful book, people will see it and buy it at higher proportions
Yeah.
uh, because having something that you can actually like hold and feel that feels like it's a quality product will get people to open their wallets for sure.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. I think just like making sure, yeah, that they can actually see the book, interact with it, and they don't write you off the moment they hear self-published.
Mhm.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katie. This is great. A couple like kind of logistic questions for you. One, is there anything specific you'd like me to promote about you when I send this out?
Um, no, if you could include like a link to the book on my website, they're
Mhm.
all signed books,
Oh,
which is
amazing.
cool. And there's a special edition as well, which has a unique slipcase and a different cover.
I
Uh,
love that.
so yeah, just linking to those and referencing those is great. If you like link to my tours page, cool. Everything's on katieparla.com. Um,
Perfect.
any images, I can send anything you need. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, my next question was, is it okay with you if I show a couple spreads that I reference specifically? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have like specific ones only to share.
no, no, everything is available. So anything you want.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your work is incredible. I'm excited to keep following your career.
Thank you so much for reaching out, and I really appreciated your thoughtful questions, and it's nice to connect with a fellow author.
Yeah, yeah, go self-publishing.
All right,
Bye.
ciao. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.